Hello friends, welcome. Episode 8, Dan Tremblay Music. A while back I did a video on live looping and people seem to be interested and seem to want to learn more about it. It was kind of just a rough overview of my setup. Today we're going to dig deep, going to be hands-on, going to get right into the nitty-gritty of how I put everything together, mostly featuring the Boss RC-505 and how I use it with virtual instruments. Going to dig deep into the settings, how I hook everything up, and then I'm going to do a little live demo. Going to be much more hands-on. Let's get to it. Okay, here it is, my friends. Check it out, my setup. Okay, I got my MIDI controller. Okay, headphones, Boss RC-505. Laptop, which houses all of my samples. Okay, running in main stage. Okay, tons of samples. Those are all being, they're all housed in a SSD card. Okay, and I got this little thing because of course I don't have enough USB ports because I own a Mac. And then basically everything runs through to the RC-505. Then it goes out into my Focusrite interface, and that goes into my second Mac. Okay, into OBS. Okay, if you're not familiar with OBS, check it out. It takes a while to get it set up. Once you get it set up, then it's fairly straightforward. And you know, you need good lighting. This is for live streaming. Got a little softbox going on there. Okay, to give you an idea of all the stuff. I got my pedal down here. Okay, the A button is for starting and stopping the entire loop. The B I have programmed to the second track. Okay, so if I'm going to run a guitar in here, I would run that into the second track, and that way I can do hands-free control while I'm on the guitar, or for anything else. Doesn't have to be for guitar. You can assign those switches to multiple parameters, multiple tracks. All depends on how you route it. There's tons of options within the RC-505. Because I'm using this as an interface, you need to go into your settings, and you need to go here to make sure, it's very important if you want to use this as a interface. Otherwise it'll just function as a looper, and that's kind of what it's for. There you go. System USB mode audio MIDI. Okay, you got to make sure if you toggle that back and forth, it goes between storage and audio MIDI. You need to make sure that's set up. There's all kinds of other parameters in here. I won't cover everything. But basically, I have input effects, which are all programmable. So that's effects going into the unit. I have mine set up for EQ, delay, and reverb. And then you have your control knob adjusting each one of those. And then you have output effects. And again, those are all programmable. Here I have a filter, slicer, which is kind of fun. Beat, repeat. I pretty much only use the filter. Filter's kind of cool for when you're mixing stuff down, because you do have faders, so you can kind of create a dynamic performance using all of those different toggles and controls. Okay, and then here and again on main stage, you need to make sure, because again we're using the RC-505 as an interface, you need to make sure in the audio settings your output and input are RC-505. We have our USB connection. We have our control connection. That's for our AB pedal. Headphones connection. And then you have a stereo right and left output, which then runs into the interface. We have an aux input. We have a stereo left and right, so if I'm going to be plugging in guitar, I'll go into the left mono, And then there's also an XLR balanced input for a microphone. So when I'm using the microphone, I plug directly. I'm using the pre's on the unit, okay, which are not as good as the pre's on my Focusrite, but they'll get the job done for live performance. Okay, I should also mention that the way the buttons work, these are very sensitive buttons, very, very nice buttons. You tap once, and now you're in record mode. You tap again, and it turns into kind of an amber, and that's for overdub mode. Tap again, now you're green, and there's your loop. Okay, I also have this set up, and that's through the parameters. Before you start, you can either have a tap tempo before you start, so you can set your tempo. I have it set somewhere deep within the recesses of the unit. You can set it up so that whatever your first loop is, it sets the tempo for the entire song. So that's what I do, because I like to play things at different tempos, and that's all there is to it. Then you add your different loops, record, overdub, change your levels, add some effects. You can stop your loop, filters. That's an all stop, all start, and that is all there is to it. What is that? Papa Look HD webcam, super cheap, and I have a USB extension cable so that I can reach my Mac. Other very important thing to note is you want to make sure that you have an Ethernet connection. You have a direct connection with your modem. If you're going to be live streaming to YouTube or wherever else, Twitch, there's a ton of different options. You want to make sure you have a direct connection to your modem. Okay, so forget about Wi-Fi. You might be able to get it done with Wi-Fi, but I wouldn't trust it. Direct Ethernet connection. You stream out into OBS, and then that outputs it to whatever platform you want to use. And now I'm going to give you a little demo. So final thoughts. There's my setup. Everyone has different setups. A lot of people are using Ableton Live, very complex setups. Some people are just using guitar loop pedals for, that have one pedal or multiple pedals. Whatever works, whatever's going to work for you to develop and layer, just to make things a little more interesting for solo performances. If Boss is watching, by the way, here's what I'd like to see on future iteration on this bad boy. Instead of having 5 tracks, I'd like them to double it to 10. 10 tracks, all independently with independent controls, with independent faders. If the faders could be maybe a little bit longer for a little bit more control for dynamics, a little bit of a greater dynamic range. An A-B switch to divide those tracks up into 5 in the top, 5 in the bottom. A-B switch on the unit itself. That way you could actually loop separate sections, which would be awesome, like verse and a chorus. 2 totally independent sections would be awesome. So Boss, if you're out there listening, I'd love to see that. I love this unit. I think there's a lot to speak for hardware units. Software, we're at the mercy of our computers. Sometimes computers just don't work. I've had an issue where I played a show and it was red hot that day and my laptop started overheating and I was freaking out a little bit. These bad boys, hardware units, that's what they're made for. They're just super dependable. Never had an issue with this. This is not a complaint, by the way, of this unit. Just a suggestion that future iterations, let's take something that's great and let's make it even better. 10 tracks, A-B section, switching between multiple sections would be amazing. There you go, my friends. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. Stay safe.